The day the aliens came changed everything. Not with a bang or an invasion, but with a plea. Captain Eleanor Wright sat at her control station on the edge of the solar system. Her ship, a small patrol vessel named Horizon, monitored the outer boundary where human influence ended and the vast unknown began. For 3 years, she had watched this empty space. Today was different. "Captain, we're picking up a signal," said Communications Officer Ben Miller. His eyes widened as he adjusted his headset. "It's not one of ours." Eleanor moved to his station. On the screen, a damaged ship limped through space. Its hull was scorched black in places, with sections torn open to reveal sparking wires and strange technology. It was definitely not human-made. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," Ben said. "It sounds like a distress call." Eleanor ordered her crew to battle stations, just in case, but something told her this wasn't a trick. The alien ship looked barely able to stay together, much less attack. "Open a channel," she said. The screen flickered, showing a humanoid figure with blue-tinted skin and large, dark eyes. Golden patterns covered its face like natural tattoos. It spoke in a musical language that Eleanor couldn't understand, but the universal language of fear and desperation came through clearly. "We're receiving a data packet," Ben said. "It looks like translation software." Within minutes, the aliens' words became clear. "Please help. Our homeworld is under attack. We are the Mariacs. The Voidborn are destroying everything. We need allies." Back on Earth, the United Planetary Council gathered in their New York headquarters. 24 leaders from Earth's nations sat around a circular table, arguing about what to do. "We don't know anything about these Mariacs or their war," said Council Member Gregory Bell, his fist hitting the table. "This could be a trap." Admiral John Garcia, head of the Earth Defense Force, stood up. Unlike the politicians, he wore a simple Navy uniform with only a few medals. "The Mariacs have offered to share technology centuries beyond ours. Their star maps alone would save us decades of exploration. And if these Voidborn defeat the Mariacs, what's to stop them from coming here next?" Garcia continued. "Better to fight them there than wait for them to reach Earth." Director Samuel Peters, who led the council, looked troubled. "We've never fought a war beyond our solar system. Are we ready for this?" The chamber doors opened. Captain Eleanor Wright entered with a blue-skinned alien beside her. The room fell silent. "This is Kirtal, Ambassador of the Mariacs," Eleanor said. Kirtal bowed slightly. "I understand your hesitation. Let me show you what we face." He placed a small crystal on the table. It projected a 3-dimensional image showing planets being systematically destroyed by ships that seemed to swallow light around them. "The Voidborn consume worlds," Kirtal said softly. 7 billion of my people have already died." Eleanor watched the council members' faces as they viewed the devastation. Some looked away. Others watched with growing anger. "We need your help," Kirtal said. "Our science is advanced, but we are not warriors. Humans." He paused. "Your history shows you know how to fight when threatened." The council voted 13-11 in favor of helping the Mariacs. As she led Kirtal from the chamber, Eleanor asked him, "Why Earth? Why us?" Kirtal's large eyes studied her face. "Because while many species reach for the stars to escape their violent past, humans reach for the stars still carrying your shields. The universe needs that now." Admiral Garcia was already on his phone, giving orders that would send thousands of humans to a war in another galaxy. Admiral Garcia stood in the control room of Earth's largest military base in Nevada. Massive screens showed the status of every ship in the 7th Fleet. 50 warships, including the massive flagship U.S. Defiant, were being prepared for battle. 3 weeks to get the fleet ready, he said to Captain Eleanor Wright, who had been reassigned as his second-in-command. "Not enough time, but it will have to do." Eleanor nodded. "The Mariacs say the Voidborn are moving quickly. We don't have much time." On the other side of the room, Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez studied the holographic images of void-borne ships. They were strange, almost alive-looking, with shapes that seemed to bend in impossible ways. How do we fight something we don't understand? She asked nobody in particular. Her team of tactical officers looked just as confused. "We adapt," said Chief Engineer Daniel Scott as he walked in carrying a strange blue device. "The Mariacs gave us this shield generator. It's based on principles we've never seen before." Scott placed the device on the table. It hummed softly, creating a bubble of energy that distorted the light around it. "The problem is, it doesn't work with our power systems," Scott explained. "I need to rebuild every weapon system on every ship to make them compatible." Admiral Garcia frowned. "How long?" "With regular methods, years." Scott grinned. "But I've got teams working around the clock. We'll be ready." Outside the base, a different battle was brewing. Thousands of protesters filled the streets of major cities around the world. "No alien war," they chanted in Washington. "Defend Earth first," shouted crowds in London. But in other places, recruitment centers were packed with volunteers. Young men and women lined up for blocks, eager to join the fight among the stars. In a quiet laboratory at the base, Dr. Natalie Brown was trying to understand Mariac's biology. The alien ambassador, Kirtal, sat patiently as she took readings. "Your species is fascinating," she said. "Your cells can repair radiation damage much faster than ours." Kirtal nodded. "We evolved on a planet with a highly radioactive core. It made us resilient, but not warriors." Natalie noticed how he watched a training exercise through the window. Human soldiers were practicing combat scenarios, moving with aggressive precision. "Does our violence frighten you?" she asked. "Yes," Kirtal admitted, "but it also gives me hope. My people would rather die than fight like that. Perhaps that's why we're losing." Later that evening, Eleanor found Kirtal alone, watching Earth's sunset from a viewing platform. "It's beautiful," he said. "Different colors than my homeworld, but beautiful all the same." "Will we see your world soon?" Eleanor asked. "If there's anything left of it," Kirtal replied. His normally musical voice sounded flat. "The Defiant is your strongest ship, yes?" Eleanor nodded. "On my world, we had cities larger than your ships. Now they're dust." He turned to face her. "I've brought death to your people. You brought us a chance to prevent something worse," Eleanor said. "If these Voidborn destroy your civilization, they won't stop there." 3 days before launch, Admiral Garcia received troubling news. Intelligence officers had found inconsistencies in the Mariac story. Some of the battle footage seemed edited. "Should we abort?" his intelligence chief asked. Garcia looked at the massive fleet through his office window. Thousands of lives would be risked on this mission. "No," he decided. "Something is attacking the Mariacs. Whether they're telling us everything or not, we can't let genocide happen. Not if we can stop it." The day of launch arrived. 50 ships rose from Earth's surface and orbit, their engines burning bright against the dark sky, carrying 20,000 humans toward a war in another galaxy. Space stretched endlessly around the human fleet as they traveled farther than any person had gone before. The ships moved through the darkness using new engines that the Mariacs had helped design. These engines bent space itself, allowing the fleet to cover massive distances in weeks instead of thousands of years. Captain Eleanor Wright stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, watching stars blur past on the view screen. 3 weeks into their journey, and Earth was now just a memory. "Status report," she said. "All systems normal, Captain," replied the navigation officer. "We're on course for the Andromeda Galaxy. Estimated arrival in 5 more weeks." Eleanor nodded and made her way to the ship's cultural center. Here, Kirtal had set up displays showing Mariac's history and art. Several off-duty crew members wandered around, studying the alien civilization they were risking their lives to save. "Your people built beautiful things," Eleanor said as she approached Kirtal. The alien nodded. "We've had peace for 10,000 years. It gives you time to create rather than destroy. Then how did you develop space travel? Eleanor asked. On Earth, most of our technology came from war. Kirtle seemed uncomfortable. We had our violent times. Long ago. In another part of the ship, Lieutenant Ryan Cooper worked on improving communication with the Mariacs. As head of communications, he had spent weeks learning their language and studying their messages. Something doesn't add up, he told Medical Officer Patricia Clark as they shared a meal in the mess hall. Their stories about the Voidborn change slightly each time they tell them. Patricia looked concerned. I've noticed something too. I've been studying samples of Mariac's biology. Their bodies show signs of evolution in a predatory environment. Sharp teeth that have been filed down, muscles designed for hunting. Not what you'd expect from a peaceful species. Should we tell the Admiral? Ryan asked. Not yet. We need more evidence. 3 decks below, trouble was brewing. A group of officers had gathered in a small meeting room. We're being used, said Lieutenant Commander Frank Harris. The Mariacs are hiding something big. We should turn around now. A dozen officers nodded in agreement. That's enough, came a stern voice from the doorway. Admiral Garcia stepped into the room. You all have concerns. I understand that. But we're 8 trillion miles from home. There's no turning back. He pulled up a holographic map showing the fleet's position. New intel confirms massive battles across this region of space, whatever the Mariacs aren't telling us. The threat is real. Meanwhile, on the engineering deck, Chief Engineer Daniel Scott worked with a Mariacs technician named Valoran. They were upgrading the fleet's weapons to be more effective against Voidborn ships. These weapons will tear through almost anything, Scott said, looking at the newly modified torpedo design. Valoran's face showed what seemed like concern. The Voidborn ships are unusual. They adapt quickly. To energy weapons, maybe. But good old-fashioned explosives work on everything, Scott replied confidently. As the fleet reached the halfway point of their journey, the long-range sensors detected something alarming. The edge of the Andromeda Galaxy showed signs of massive destruction. Entire star systems going dark. Admiral Garcia called an emergency meeting with his senior officers and Kirtal. The conflict is spreading faster than we thought, Kirtal explained, his voice trembling. The Voidborn are consuming stars now. Consuming stars? Eleanor asked in disbelief. Yes, they convert matter to energy to fuel their ships. A single star can power their fleet for years. Admiral Garcia studied the new sensor data. This is bigger than you told us. We're looking at a war across hundreds of star systems, not just your homeworld. Kirtal lowered his head. Would you have come if you knew the true scale? Garcia's expression hardened. We're about to find out. All hands to battle stations. We're entering the war zone. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a blue-green planet called Theron 3. It was a Mariacs colony world, home to millions of their people, and it was under attack. Sensors detecting 37 enemy ships, reported the officer at the scanning station. They're surrounding a space station in orbit. Admiral Garcia leaned forward in his command chair. Can we get visual? The main screen showed dark shapes moving around a silver station. The Voidborn ships looked like black tears in space, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Their surfaces rippled like liquid. What are they doing to that station? Eleanor asked, squinting at the screen. Kirtal's voice shook as he answered. Feeding. The station has 10,000 of my people on it. All ships, battle formation Delta, Garcia ordered. Target the Voidborn vessels nearest the station. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez studied the tactical display on the bridge of her destroyer, the Swift Justice. Sir, request permission to lead a rescue team to the station. Denied, came Garcia's reply over the comm. Too dangerous. We take out the enemy ships first. Olivia frowned. Her ship was the closest to the station, and she could see life signs fading on her scanner. With respect, sir, There won't be anyone left to rescue if we wait. After a moment of silence, Garcia responded, "You have 15 minutes. Get in, get survivors, get out." "Thank you, sir." Olivia turned to her crew. "Prepare boarding shuttles and combat teams." The human fleet opened fire on the void-borne ships. Missiles and energy beams streaked across space. The first barrage tore through 3 enemy vessels, which exploded into strange dark energy rather than fire. But the void-borne recovered quickly. Their ships moved with impossible speed, changing direction faster than anything humans had built. They returned fire with beams of purple energy that drained shields on contact. "They're adapting to our weapons," Chief Engineer Scott reported from the engine room of the Defiant. "Adjusting frequencies." On the Swift Justice, Olivia led a team of 20 soldiers into a boarding shuttle. They launched toward the station while the battle raged around them. "Stay alert," she told her team as they docked with the station. "We don't know what these things look like up close." They entered the station with weapons ready. The corridors were dark, with emergency lights casting red shadows. Bodies of Mariac civilians floated in zero gravity. "Life signs detected 2 levels down," reported a soldier checking a scanner. They moved quickly through the station. In a large dining hall, they found a group of 30 Mariacs huddled behind barricaded doors. "We're here to help," Olivia called out. "United Earth Fleet." As the survivors were loaded onto the shuttle, Olivia noticed a computer terminal still working. On impulse, she connected a data drive and downloaded the station's logs. Back on the main battlefield, the human fleet was holding its own, but just barely. 6 human ships had been damaged, 2 destroyed completely. The Voidborn had lost 12 vessels, but were adjusting their tactics rapidly. "They're learning too fast," Garcia muttered. "Scott, we need something new." "Working on it, sir," the engineer replied. "I've been analyzing their energy signature. These ships, they're powered by some kind of life force." "Explain," Garcia demanded. "It's like they're burning souls for fuel," Scott said, his voice disturbed. "The energy matches brain patterns, just weaponized." Olivia's shuttle returned to the Swift Justice with the survivors. As medical teams cared for the Mariacs, she reviewed the data she'd taken from the station. What she found made her blood run cold. According to the station logs, the Mariacs had been conducting experiments with dimensional technology. They had opened a portal to another realm, the home of the Voidborn, 3 years ago. "They weren't attacked randomly," she whispered. "They provoked this." She immediately sent a secure message to Admiral Garcia. His reply was simple: "Keep this quiet. Meet me in person. There's more going on here than we were told." They opened a hole between dimensions and pulled these creatures into our universe. Admiral Garcia's voice was quiet but filled with anger. He stood in his private quarters, facing Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez. "Yes, sir," Olivia replied, pointing to the data on her tablet. The Mariacs were looking for new energy sources. They found the Voidborn's dimension and started harvesting it. Garcia paced the room. "So we're not fighting invaders. We're fighting victims." "It seems that way, sir." Outside in space, the human fleet had regrouped after their first battle. They had won, but at a cost. 3 ships destroyed, 12 damaged, over 200 humans dead. The Voidborn had retreated, but sensors showed them gathering for another attack. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Eleanor Wright studied star maps showing Mariac's territory. 5 planets had already fallen to the Voidborn. "If we use our nuclear arsenal in this pattern," she explained to her tactical team, "we might be able to create a disruption field that pushes the Voidborn back to their dimension. That would require precise placement in 27 locations," an officer pointed out. "We'd be spreading our forces thin." Eleanor nodded. "It's a risk, but it might end this without more bloodshed." Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Patricia Clark made a disturbing discovery. She had been studying pieces of a destroyed Voidborn ship. Under her microscope, the black material pulsed slightly. "It's still alive," she whispered. She ran more tests, then called Lieutenant Ryan Cooper to the lab. "Look at this," she said, showing him the results. "The Voidborn ships aren't just machines. They're living beings. And these readings show brain patterns similar to emotions." "What emotions?" Ryan asked. "Pain, fear, desperation." Patricia looked troubled. "I don't think they're evil conquerors. I think they're trying to survive and return home." Ryan stared at the readings. "We need to try communicating with them directly." Without telling their superiors, Ryan and Patricia began working on a modified communication device using Mariax technology. They believed they could translate the energy patterns from the Voidborn into something understandable. Admiral Garcia called a meeting with his senior officers and Kirtal. The atmosphere was tense. "You lied to us," Garcia said bluntly to the Mariax ambassador. "This war didn't start with the Voidborn attacking you. It started with you invading their dimension." Kirtal's skin paled. "We did not understand at first. We thought their dimension was just energy, not a home to sentient beings." "And when you discovered the truth?" Eleanor asked. "By then, we had built cities powered by their dimension. Billions of lives depended on that energy." Kirtal looked down. "Our leaders decided to continue. So the Voidborn are fighting back," Garcia said, "trying to close the holes you made into their world." "Yes," Kirtal admitted, "but they cannot distinguish between those responsible and innocent civilians. They're killing everyone." Garcia faced an impossible choice: continue fighting for allies who had deceived them, try to help the Voidborn return home, or pull his fleet out and leave both sides to their fate. In the middle of the meeting, Ryan Cooper's voice came urgently over the comm system. "Admiral, we've established contact with the Voidborn. You need to see this." The main screen showed strange, swirling patterns that somehow conveyed meaning. Images of the Voidborn's home before the Mariax came, a peaceful dimension of energy beings. Then terrible pain as their world was torn open. Their desperate journey to find the source of their suffering. "They don't want to destroy," Ryan explained. "They want to seal the rifts and go home. But the Mariax are blocking them." Garcia made his decision. "We're changing our mission. We're going to find a way to help both sides." He turned to Kirtal. "Even if that means your people have to find a new energy source, the Mariax leadership will never agree," Kirtal warned. "Then we'll have to convince them," Garcia said grimly. "One way or another." The main Mariax homeworld of Acura Prime hung in space like a blue jewel. Its cities glittered with lights, protected by a massive energy shield. Beyond it, the dark shapes of Voidborn ships gathered, growing in number with each passing hour. Between these two forces, the human fleet positioned itself in a defensive formation. "This is Admiral John Garcia of the United Earth Fleet," Garcia broadcast on all frequencies. "To both Mariax and Voidborn forces, we demand an immediate ceasefire. We will open negotiations to end this conflict." On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Eleanor Wright watched the sensor readings nervously. "The Voidborn are holding position. They seem to be listening." "But the Mariax aren't," said the communications officer. "They're powering weapons." A new voice cut into their communication channel. "This is High Commander Jalven of the Mariax Defense Force. Human vessels, you have violated our agreement. You were brought here to defend us, not negotiate with the enemy." "The agreement changed when we learned the truth," Garcia replied firmly. The High Commander's tone grew cold. "Then you are no longer our allies." Suddenly, alarms blared across the human fleet. "Multiple systems failing," shouted Chief Engineer Scott from Engineering. "The Mariax installed backdoors in the technology they shared. They're taking control of our ships." Scott worked frantically at his console. "I can isolate critical systems on the Defiant and our larger vessels, but the smaller ships are vulnerable." On the tactical display, 5 human destroyers turned their weapons toward the rest of the fleet. "Mariax-controlled ships are targeting us," Eleanor reported. "They've locked weapons on the Defiant." Disable those ships, Garcia ordered. Targeted weapons only. Those are still our people on board. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez led a squadron of fighters toward the compromised destroyers. Use ion pulses, she instructed her pilots. We need to knock out their systems without destroying the ships. While the human fleet struggled with this new betrayal, Captain Eleanor Wright led a small team on a covert mission. Using a stealth shuttle, they approached the massive Mariax command station orbiting Akira Prime. According to Kirtal, the station houses the dimensional technology. Eleanor told her team as they prepared to board. Our mission is to find it and understand how it works. They entered the station through a maintenance airlock. The corridors were eerily empty. Where is everyone? Whispered a team member. They found their answer when they reached the central chamber. Hundreds of Mariax technicians worked frantically around a massive device that pulsed with dark energy. At its center, a swirling portal showed glimpses of another reality. That's not just a power generator, Eleanor realized. They're building something to permanently seal the dimensional rift, with the remaining Voidborn trapped in our universe. Meanwhile, Dr. Natalie Brown and Lieutenant Ryan Cooper had finally completed their communication device. From the science lab on the Defiant, they broadcast a signal that could be understood by humans, Mariax, and Voidborn alike. This is humanity reaching out to both sides. Natalie spoke into the device. We have uncovered the true nature of this conflict. There is a path to peace. The Voidborn responded with swirling patterns that translated to, we seek only return. End pain. Close wounds between worlds. High Commander Jalven's angry voice broke in. Peace means our extinction. Without dimensional energy, our civilization will collapse. Outside, the battle intensified. The Mariax fired on human ships trying to stop their controlled vessels. The Voidborn moved closer, drawn by the active dimensional device. Aboard the Mariax command station, Eleanor's team was discovered. Alarms sounded as security forces converged on their position. Admiral, Eleanor reported through her comm, they're activating the device now. If it works, the Voidborn will be trapped here forever, and they'll never stop fighting. Understood, Garcia replied grimly. All forces, new priority. We need to reach that device before it's activated. This ends today. The battle for the Mariax command station turned the space around Akira Prime into chaos. Human ships fought against both Mariax defenses and their own vessels that had fallen under alien control. The Voidborn ships hovered nearby, their strange forms pulsing with energy. Inside the station, Captain Eleanor Wright and her team pushed through corridors filled with armed Mariax guards. They were outnumbered but fought with Earth's best combat training. We need to reach the central chamber, Eleanor shouted over the sound of energy weapons. We have to stop that device. On the U.S. Defiant, Admiral Garcia watched the battle unfold on the main screen. Scott, can you get control of our ships back? Working on it, sir, the engineer replied. I found the backdoor code. Give me 5 more minutes. Dr. Natalie Brown and Lieutenant Ryan Cooper kept their communication channel open to the Voidborn. Please hold your position, Natalie pleaded. We're trying to help you. The swirling patterns of the Voidborn's response appeared on their screen. Time short. Portal pulling our world through. Pain spreading. Ryan looked at the readings with alarm. The dimensional device isn't just trapping them here, it's damaging their home dimension. If we don't stop it soon, their entire realm could collapse. Eleanor's team finally fought their way to the central chamber. The massive device hummed with power, the portal at its center growing larger. High Commander Jalven stood before it, his face cold. You're too late, humans. Our survival is more important than these energy parasites. You're killing an entire civilization, Eleanor said. There has to be another way. There isn't, Jalven replied. Without this energy, billions of my people will die. From the shadows stepped Kirtal, who had secretly followed Eleanor's team. No, Jalven. We were wrong. He turned to Eleanor. "There is another solution." Back on the Defiant, Chief Engineer Scott shouted in triumph. "Got it. Resetting all ship systems now." Across the battlefield, the compromised human vessels powered down briefly, then came back online under human control. "All ships," Garcia ordered, "form a perimeter around the station. No one gets in or out." In the station's central chamber, Kirtal explained his plan. "The device can be reconfigured. Instead of sealing the rifts with the Voidborn trapped here, we can create a stable gateway between dimensions." "Will that work?" Eleanor asked. "Theoretically," Kirtal admitted, "but we need human help. Your understanding of nuclear physics combined with our dimensional science might make it possible. And the Voidborn need to cooperate too," Eleanor added. Through Ryan and Natalie's communication device, they reached out to the Voidborn. The response was cautious but hopeful. "Help us return. End pain. We share knowledge of pathways." Admiral Garcia brought the human fleet to battle stations around the station while Eleanor, Kirtal, and a team of engineers from both species worked frantically to modify the device. Mariak's scientists who saw the truth in Kirtal's words joined them. High Commander Jalven and his loyal forces made one last desperate attempt to stop them, but they were held back by human soldiers. "It's ready," Eleanor announced after 12 tense hours. Beginning gateway sequence. The modified device hummed to life. The swirling portal stabilized, changing from dark purple to clear blue. Through it, they could see the beautiful energy patterns of the Voidborn's home dimension. One by one, the Voidborn ships approached the portal. As they passed through, they left behind small crystalline objects, gifts of knowledge. "Thank you," came their final message. "Remember path between worlds, not enemies." When the last Voidborn returned home, Kirtal turned to Eleanor. "My people have much to answer for. But thanks to humans, we have a chance to rebuild with honor." Admiral Garcia stood on the bridge of the Defiant as the fleet prepared to return to Earth. "We came expecting to fight a war for aliens," he said to his crew. "Instead, we taught two species how to make peace." Captain Eleanor Wright smiled. "That's an Earth tradition too." As the human fleet headed home, carrying new knowledge and the respect of two civilizations, a small pulse of energy from the Voidborn dimension followed them. A message, or perhaps a warning, that would only be understood years later.